bare majority. I think I would say a large majority of people support keeping the historical building and rehabbing the building. So I'm unequivocally in favor of rehabbing the existing structure and keeping the existing structure, remodeling it for the benefit of the fire department.
Gutting it, basically.
Gutting it.
Just keeping the shell.
Yeah.
Okay. Trustee Carter?
Do we have, are
We can discuss before a motion. Yep, let's do that. Trustee McGee?
really confused, what's the length of considered distance? My understanding is that there's no way that we could come out of a renovation without incurred costs.
Let me address that. Is that okay? And Chief, I want you to fill in where I miss anything. There are 3 deducts at the bottom of the page that talks about renovation in the, I don't know if it's in this packet, I just was running around with me. Is it breakout in this packet?
No.
Okay, so in the prior packet, one of the, alternative one is eliminate basement finish upgrades. I'm gonna ask the chief if we've heard back from Zimmerman in a second, okay? And I'll tell you why that's important. The firefighters would like to know, they heard at the public meeting, information meeting, that we might mothball the basement, basically keep it as storage and not up it. So it's called finish upgrade, and we wanted to get clarification that that cost of $219 does not include the HVAC ducting, because that's what the firefighters, one of the things that would be a concern is that you stop the, the system, like system-wide. So we want to get clarification on that, and we're both pretty confident that it doesn't, because the HVAC system is so expensive up here, but we want clarification. The eliminate the community room, all that renovation, that's 113, but all that, it's a separate building, so it would just be, again, the health and safety standards of it will be upkept, but the finishing of it might be mothballed. So if you decided to do those 2 things, and then also for the basement, it's only $16,000, so it doesn't really make that much of a difference, but just ensuring that the lead is out of the system. So, but if that is all true and confirmed by Zimmerman, then you have, and then if you change the design contingency, you have approximately equal cost for rehab for the fire station services. So,
Of the space they need.
of the space that they need. So it would be rehab of the entire, it's gut and renew, so it's basically reconstruction. There's a couple of walls that would stay. But the basement would be not fully finished until there was either a tenant or a need. And then that's what these are, I'm just explaining. And then the community room could be, if we wanted to add it in as our own expense, or we could wait until we had a user. So that's kind of where that same, it was 500,000 about difference, and that's how you get to about the same. Anything further, Chief?
No, I think the important part on my end is, as you indicated, that the spaces that wouldn't be considered remodeled in that report are still abated and cleaned, and some of the issues are addressed in those spaces, because there are water leakage issues into the basement that currently need to be repaired. There is the HVAC system. I think it will be the fire department's position to be completely replaced, not in those spaces just be left, and then add in new HVAC equipment above it, so to speak. Same thing with the piping and everything. We have some known plumbing issues in the building, heating issues in the building, and I think it would be not in the best interest of either of us or the village to just basically close the door and walk away. And from a health reason also, there's a shooting range in the basement that needs to be abated. There's long time lead usage, and weaponry down there. And I think for the firefighters who have sat through and watched the difference in the 2 projects and heard through the discussion for several years, I think it wouldn't be appropriate but to basically clean that entire building and use the shell, and that's about it.
And I think, just to be clear, that's why we're asking for follow-up, because all of the environmental remediation is not in these, it's in this line up here.
Right.
So is the HVAC, and this simply says upgrade and demolition for the gun range. So we just need to, so the way that the recommended motion is written, whether you pick new construction or rehab, you it says brought up to the same safety and health standards as new, if you pick rehab as new construction. So we wanted to incorporate that just to make sure that it's clear what the village board is intending, if that's the intent.
So the 219 for the basement is, you've eliminated all the problems.
We need to confirm that with Zimmerman, and unfortunately, I think he's on vacation right now. We've had a challenge in getting in touch with
But if you
him.
do the 219, you're clearing out all the removable walls and
Where are you finding the 219? Oh, the basement finish.
all the 219,000 I assume we're gonna save in this project.
I
Okay.
think we believe, and what we want to confirm this, that would be to finish it, to make it an occupied space,
Oh,
i.e.
occupied, okay.
carpet, flooring,
Oh,
professional, so you could put an office in there and
oh,
not have a, I guess what you may call a traditional basement look of just block and, non-finish. But that's the question we need to get an answer to.
And that's why the motion's written
yeah, I would,
to, of course, it can be changed by any board member, but if the chief helped draft it just to make sure that if that's the intent, that it gets in there.
I would not leave. Problem here is, I would want to do any demolition that needs to be done. This would be the time to clean out the old that you've never been used and get it out while the whole building. So you aren't trying to operate a fire station, well, construct as much as you can do. Because this would be the time to do the demolition, clear out the old, but maybe not rebuild in new.
Yeah.
Trustee Warren.
I mean, I agree with what's been said, that, putting in the health and safety standards language, the resolution takes care of some of those issues. My concern here was always cost and what kind of cost we were dealing with in terms of rehab versus new construction. It sounds as if, we take out certain elements here, and we'll get to an even cost, so I would agree with Trustee Amenta that, I very much support rehab of the existing building, given the historical nature of the existing building, the features within the existing building. So I think as long as we're comfortable with that cost equivalence, that I think that's certainly the way that I would lead.
Thank you. Anyone have any, the only other question that remained outstanding, and I want to make sure it's in the record that I'm looking for follow-up, and I don't know if you could get an answer on this either, probably not. But the HVAC system for a rehab is 3 times as expensive as that's where all the costs are, because the rehab would be much cheaper, it would be, so all the costs, it's more expensive to build new. But the HVAC system quote in here is 3 times the amount of building new. And so I just wanted to I'm just sharing clarification for the board to make sure that, what are we sizing this HVAC unit to be? Does it have to be double? Does it have to be triple in size? So I just wanted a little more clarification, because that is the biggest chunk of the rehab is the HVAC. So I know that I had mentioned that before, and that the architect said he'd get back to us with some more detail. So that might be a cost that might actually go down, it won't go up. Let's put it that way. Trustee Carpenter.
So I know the sort of biggest question with all of that aside is the utilities in the long term. And so we had talked about some of the more green initiatives, but not going after the LEED certification. Has there been any more information about that to potentially lower the utility fees in the future, or have we not?
That is a great point. It has not, and I think that that's something that we should discuss as a board, because when I mentioned earlier about, do we have the ability to bond mid-year? So not just for information background, the North Shore Fire Department has about 3.2 million in bonding capacity for our project, or is it lower, Chief?
It's about that. Technically, we, as an agency, can't bond. We have been working with Whitefish
Right.
Bay, and this is how it's been done for years. And a municipality bonds on behalf of the fire department when larger projects come up. Whitefish Bay had offered to do some of that for us this time around, and we had included some of the Shorewood costs in that bond. Mr. Harrigan, who I also work with in Whitefish Bay on these projects, talked about bank qualification earlier, so they have a bank qualification issue in this calendar year. And so we are limited to that $4 million amount, but
Total.
about 800,000 is tied to a project in their community for our station there. So I'm expecting there will be a difference that may need to be asked for another municipality to assist in obtaining that
So
borrowing.
and why I mention that is, if the board's direction or input right now is that we would like to explore that and incur that cost, an upfront cost for a longer savings, that may fall to our bonding ability as Shorewood. I just want to put it out there. It may not, but, and so just know, I mean, sometimes that's what we vote on all the time. This is a value that we want to see and we're willing to pay for it. And so just know that there, but again, those costs will come in further direction based on what we ask staff to go back and cost in addition to what we have here. Does that help?
Yeah.
So I know, does anyone else have thoughts about, I personally would like to make the investment to, I would be supportive of making the investment if there's a difference in cost for green infrastructure to lower the utilities over time for the building. Again, it could be solar panels, it could, I don't know the answer, but at the public meeting, and not everyone was able to attend, it was discussed the fact that there's multiple ways that you can go about that, and lead certification, it was recommended that you don't necessarily have to get the certification to do the good stuff. The certification is just a piece of paper, so it's more important that we're becoming green, in my opinion, and if that's what we desire. So I'm not necessarily following, I don't care if we follow the exact LEED certification standard, but as long as we're putting in some green infrastructure in our new fire station, or the North Shore Fire Departments, or whoever may own it. And again, those financing will be decided based on building ownership, so, but I would be willing, as in my opinion, to pay more for those facility improvements. So does anyone else have opinion on that, so we can give direction? Yes.
I mean, that's something that I would be very much in support of. I think we really value our environment in our community. I think that it's important that we, walk, not just talk. So, and I really do believe in working to remodel the existing structure as we can financially.
Thank you. Trustee McKay?
I'll just be direct. I'm stuck because I am very uncomfortable with incurring any capital costs with this. It wasn't in our long-range financial plan because we didn't think that it would ever be our responsibility. And I'm also uncomfortable with entering into negotiations around, I think that's very hard to ask somebody else to build the building that you want, and so I think that leads us down the path to continued ownership and leasing, and which is an administrative responsibility. And I also am uncomfortable with knowingly incurring additional operational costs, even if there's green infrastructure to mitigate that, knowing that we have a very full responsibility moving forward with capital. We have a very fiscally conservative board. And so in my mind, a vote for entering into this with renovation, knowing that these things are going to be in play. Also, I'm uncomfortable creating more community space that isn't funded to be finished, because we now have that over at the police station. So I like that we're creating opportunities for the future, but knowing the constrained financial projections, it also feels like not really creating opportunity for the future because there's no revenue stream identified. So I'm uncomfortable with all of that. I'll just be very and I know that it's unpopular with the group that's here. It's probably not the majority of the board, but I just have to be honest that I'm uncomfortable with it on the community's behalf of management resources. So I'm uncomfortable around how this might bite us in the behind around a 0% tax levy if we have 10,000 utility costs right next door. So, I don't want to eliminate a police officer. I don't want to eliminate a garbage truck. I don't want to have those conversations, which I know we're going to be having anyway moving forward. So increasing the likelihood and the gap that we need to fill, I'm really uncomfortable with it. So if we were voting to find out more and then come back, but it really seems like we're voting to leave the station on all that. And so for that reason, I'm not comfortable supporting it. Understanding that that'll come across as I don't support preservation, which isn't true. But I also just have a different view of what our responsibility is going to be moving forward, and I'm very concerned about it.
Okay, I want to make a clarification point too. The chief had mentioned it to me, and I want to pass it along. So there is the potential that, I mean, there's no agreement or anything, but that the North Shore Fire Department and the Public Health Department function very similarly. They have very similar entities that they represent, and so functionally, like housing, the two may make sense. It has not been explored, but I just wanted to throw it out there that that has been put into the discussion mix. Just the Shorewood office, there would be enough space in that community room to fit that. And it would eliminate some of the things that the Health Shore Department, if that was to move forward for any reason, they have communication issues. But talking about where they're located, because they're two spots, and they're not on a system, they're on our system, which is not